Welcome to the vault, and happy hump day. Happy holidays to the viewing audience. This first commentary is pertaining to Scott Peterson. He has been denied a new trial in the death of his pregnant wife and child. I also will be discussing briefly Harvey Weinstein. He's been found guilty in a court of law in the state of California. And the last subject matter will be pertaining to Amy Robach and T.J. Holmes. They have been suspended indefinitely, pending an internal investigation at ABC News. Thank you for joining me. This is a 3-part live. Happy holidays.
Today, a San Mateo County judge dealing Scott Peterson's legal team a major blow, ruling he won't be given a new trial. Peterson's attorneys had argued juror number 7, Rochelle Nice, lied so she could get on the high-profile case's original jury.
The judge said there really is no showing of bias here. Peterson got a fair trial.
In today's ruling, the judge concluded that juror number 7's responses were not motivated by pre-existing or improper bias against Peterson, but instead were the result of a combination of good faith misunderstanding of the questions and sloppiness in answering.
The judge found that she was credible, that if this juror had very strong feelings about the case, which she did, those were feelings that arose entirely from the juror hearing the evidence.
Peterson, who is 50 now, was convicted of killing his wife, Lacey Peterson, and their unborn child, and dumping them into the bay on Christmas Eve 2002. Peterson was moved off death row in October this year after the state Supreme Court overturned his death sentence, but not his conviction. So what's next? He won't be able to appeal today's ruling on the state level. Legal analyst Dean Johnson says Peterson will now likely try to get his conviction overturned in federal court, but says it'll be difficult to do and take many years.
Bottom line is, when Scott Peterson gets to federal court, he will be raising some, but not all of the issues that were raised in the state court.
For now, Peterson will continue to serve a life sentence at Mule Creek State Prison east of Sacramento. Ian Cole, NBC Bay Area News.
All right, everybody. NBC News is the source. So you hear he's been denied a new trial. He can appeal in federal court, which may take a couple of years. My thing is, why keep prolonging the inevitable? You know you killed your wife and child, and you're playing this dirty game with the system because they are allowing you this opportunity to play in court every few years, but you know you killed your wife and child. But this is a narcissist and a sociopath, so therefore he does not care. He didn't care for his family, so what does he care about wasting money, taxpayers' money, paper shuffling? Because all this cost is back and forth. When somebody else could be going to trial for another crime and it gets on the books. But this is what happens when you are a narcissist. You're sick. You're demented. As far as the young lady that was juror number 7, you hear that the judge didn't find that she got on the panel to be facetious in nature. And who's going to admit that anyway? Oh, yeah, I got on this trial because I was once sexually assaulted, so I want revenge. She may have wanted it. Who's to say? But she wouldn't be stupid enough to admit it. So all this is over a juror who didn't answer questions properly, that she was sexually assaulted or abused by a mate. Let me clear that up. Some type of abuse, let's say. Whatever it was, allegedly. In the end, juror 7, juror 1, juror 12, you got to prove any improprieties, and no one in their right mind would admit any type of ill will before going in to be a juror on the trial. 2, he killed his wife and baby. The state proved it. By the grace of God, those jury members found him guilty. And there was so much evidence to show this man did not care for his family. He was secretly having an affair, lying to that lady about his wife, the relationship. He lied about everything. And it's sad to think that he even has supporters to this day, family that believe in him, when they know damn well that woman didn't jump in the water with her child. Very sick. Content number 2, Harvey Weinstein. Thank you for joining me. CBS News is the source. Harvey Weinstein found guilty on several counts in Los Angeles trial. This was uploaded 1 day ago. Thank you.
But first, we have some breaking news to report. A Los Angeles jury has found the former movie producer, Harvey Weinstein, guilty in his rape and sexual assault trial. Prosecutors say Weinstein used his power in Hollywood to both lure women and assault them. The 70-year-old could face more than 60 years in prison. He's already serving a 23-year sentence in New York for similar charges. He has denied the allegations against him. For more on this, I'm joined by Rachel Fezay. She is co-founder and managing partner of the law firm ZFZ LLP. So, Rachel, what surprised you or didn't in this verdict?
I think the jury really took their time and they went through each allegation really very thoroughly, as there is not a unanimous verdict on 3 of the women's accounts, and he was only found guilty of 1 of the women's accounts. On there were 3 charges associated with Jane Doe that he was found guilty of, but the other 3 women, all of them were hung, and the hung amounts are not the same. One is 8-4, one is 10-2. So I think they were really back in the jury room looking through each and every detail and discussing each and every count that Harvey Weinstein was charged with here.
And what's the next stage? What's the timeline on being sentenced now that the verdict is in?
The next stage is actually tomorrow. They have to come back and decide whether there's some aggravating factors that might raise the sentencing range as it relates to the 3 charges of which he was found guilty.
And what does that mean, aggregating factors?
I think that there is some allegations as it relates to force, power. Aggravating factors are really just sentence enhancements. And here he is now facing 18 to 24 years based on the verdict that just came in.
And Rachel, how does this differ from the previous case in New York? And now what happens? Weinstein's already serving 23 years. So does this get tacked on? How does that math get worked out?
So 18 years, 24 years, 60 years. At this point, he still has to serve his time in New York. So he's got to finish that 23-year sentence if it's not appealed. And then once he finishes out in New York, serving his sentence there, they will move him to a prison facility in California. So really what he has at this point is a life sentence, and everything else just kind of is gravy as compared to that. But New York came first in time, so he's got to serve that sentence first.
Okay, more years upon years. Rachel Fezay, thanks for helping us sort through this. We appreciate it.
CBS News is the source pertaining to Harvey Weinstein. Several charges, ciphering through different testimonies, deciding which I guess were relevant, factual. This content was uploaded a day ago, so today will be the day that there would be a tallying of the sentence. So I'm going to go back in here and check. See what else I can find pertaining to sentencing. Thank you for joining me. See what's new here. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $BeGanji, 129 Cash App. All stickers and chats are welcome during this live stream. Thank you so much. Just trying to see if there's anything else. So he's found guilty on 3 of 7 counts in sexual deviances. Let's see. Because today was supposed to be something else brought up. Just make sure I show everything. So far, everything's just showing the basic information that he was found guilty, 3 on 7 charges. They mentioned something about aggravating circumstances. I just want to make sure bringing everything in. Anyway, when I get another update pertaining to that information, I will surely bring it to you. Thank you all so much for joining me. My third commentary is pertaining to, well, before I get into that, let me say something about Harvey Weinstein, because this is a commentary channel. It was no secret of his behavior in Hollywood, New York. Everyone seemed to have, some people, let's say, don't say everyone, some people had knowledge that he was a dirty bird. He liked to make sexual advances, and PBS has run a special I've been meaning to check out. So please check out PBS, your local listings for the Harvey Weinstein documentary. You can go into YouTube Q. It's in the YouTube Q if you would like to watch that said commentary pertaining to Weinstein and his behavior. I remember seeing a woman who worked for him. She wasn't even an actress or someone in the entertainment business trying to become an entertainer. She worked for him, and she was meeting him for something, to go over something, paperwork or whatever. And she said he just dropped his robes when she walked in the room. So it's like, you know, what's this about? And that would be astonishing, to go into a business meeting with someone you're working with or working for, and they disrobe or drop their pants. God forbid, actually touch you or try to take off your clothing. He's just a monster. He's a monster. Present tense, monster. He's a dirty old fat bird. And the things that were said about him in court a few years ago when that girl testified, one of the ladies testified about his genitalia being very small and looking like a woman down there, and the smell was horrific. He dropped his head in court, as he should have. And rather the size of the anatomy, you should be ashamed anyway to be sitting in court being accused of sexual improprieties against another human being. It's the lowest form of a person, to sexually assault a person, to grope a person, make derogatory comments that are sexual toward a person or a child. It's all the same. You can't stoop any lower than being a sexual sadist. And or deviant killers, serial killer. It's all the same to me. He's no different. He's just vile. And people knew of this. People heard of it. It was a running joke. He was confronted many years ago by, I believe that was Brad Pitt, when he was dating Gwyneth Paltrow. You would think a man approaching him about his improprieties and vile behavior, you think he would stop, because he would say, well, I don't want this getting out. I don't want these guys go around and start saying bad things about me. But that's a narcissist. They don't care. If you've noticed the behavior of sadists, killers, they are eerily similar. It does not matter the circumstances, the height, the weight, the race, the position they hold, the title they hold. They are eerily similar. One man's killing his wife and child. Deny, deny, deny. This man's groping women, making sexual advances, promising to put them in movies, blah, blah, blah. It's all the same. A deviant mind. Very, very sick. And as for him having a spouse, I would wonder what is her knowledge of knowing his behavior. Because, you know, people whisper and people talk. And one thing we've learned that about Hollywood, that those people talk just like anywhere else in the world. People talk about the deviances, the things that go on with people behind the closed doors, their behavior, who's getting paid what, so on and so forth. So I wonder, did his wife know or heard of any of his improprieties? If she did know, did she stay on in the marriage until everything just blew up? Then she decided, can't stay, gonna bow out. But look at this man, 70 years old. Almost 70 before actually going into a jail cell and being found guilty. It's very interesting. So you're talking about 40 plus years, at least 30 years of assaulting women. And you just don't wake up assaulting women either, or groping or making sexual advances. I don't know if it's just that he felt cocky starting out in the business, that he was doing well, and he thought, well, I'll toot my own horn. I'll make a couple of passes here and there, see how it goes. Because he's nothing to look at. He was nothing to look at then, 30, 40 years ago. He was no morning star. And he definitely is not a morning star now. Just a shriveled up old man, decaying inside of a prison, as he should be. But I know he has no remorse, because most sadists don't have remorse. How can you feel remorse when you are empty? You have no empathy. So you can't have any remorse. You like what you're doing. You enjoy what you are doing. So you won't have any remorse. And as far as them trying to change, we have heard about sexual deviant behavior. It is one of the hardest traits to try to cure. Most are not cured. Even if they actually wanted to try to get help, seek therapy. Because there's some fulfillment in seeking out victims, controlling the victim, watching the victim be vulnerable. Somebody gets off on that. Most of these sadists do. How could they not? Because why would you do it? And if you continue to do it, then that means you actually enjoy what you're doing. So you're getting something out of it. And that's the whole purpose of the act. No matter how sick the sensation is, the motive, the gratification, they're getting something out of it. So he deserves to be where he is. That's my commentary pertaining to Harvey Weinstein. My third and last commentary is the debacle running over at ABC in New York. My. What a web these two have entangled themselves in. Let's play this commentary. It was uploaded 2 weeks ago. I'm going to play that commentary. These two have been suspended indefinitely, my understanding. TJ Holmes and Miss Robach seen out in public. I'm going to bring you that commentary as well. So obviously, they didn't care about being seen and both currently married to other partners. Why is that? Everything's going to depend on your moral compass. Whether you think these two are shiesty or wrong, everyone's entitled to his or her opinion. This commentary is by Inside Edition. This was uploaded 2 weeks ago. Then I will read you some small commentary pertaining to what is transpiring between ABC and these two former broadcasters. Thank you.
Major drama for the GMA anchors who were having a secret romance. Less than a week after news broke that Amy Robach and TJ Holmes were dating, executives at ABC made the decision to take them off the air, at least for now. Les Trent has more.
Amy Robach and TJ Holmes were pulled off the air today in the wake of their bombshell affair.
Amy Robach and TJ Holmes cut the date off.
Their ABC colleagues Gio Benitez and Stephanie Ramos took over hosting duties on GMA3 with just a brief mention of their absence.
The news that they had been taken off the air was made today by the president of ABC News, who told the staff that their headline-making romance was becoming a distraction. No word on when Amy Robach and TJ Holmes will be back, but the suspension is said to be indefinite.
I'm asking that we stop the whispering in the hallways. You know, we can't operate with gossip and speculation and rumors. We need to stay focused on the work, the president of ABC News was quoted as saying. She added that the relationship between the two co-hosts was not a violation of company policy.
I would guess they're off the air for a while, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks till things calm down, come back on the air.
According to published reports, GMA anchor Robin Roberts first heard rumors about the affair several years ago. When she asked Robach and Holmes whether the gossip was true, they reportedly both denied it. Meanwhile, the scandal just keeps, well, let them say it.
Keep going and going and going.
Robach is said to be in the final stages of divorcing her husband, while Holmes is reportedly separated from his wife.
Inside Edition, content uploaded 2 weeks ago. So this gentleman giving his commentary says, be back on the air a week or two. Well, it's been 2 weeks and they're not back on the air. Will ABC let these two keep their job or have them work at different times on the network? Will ABC keep these two individuals? Both are married. Final stages of divorce, allegedly, for Miss Robach and Mr. Holmes, currently separated from his wife. I was curious. My mind was wandering. Since he's African American and she's Caucasian, I was curious if his wife is Caucasian. Just curious. Saw a picture earlier of he and his child. I can't tell if the child is biracial or not because Black people, we come in all different shades. Different shades. But that would be interesting to know. I'm sure many people are curious. What was so special about her? Vice versa, what was special about him? For these two to get entangled. E-News is the source. Amid their removal from GMA3 pending an internal investigation, a source has exclusively given E! News an update on Amy Robach, TJ Holmes' relationship status. This was uploaded the 14th of December. Amy Robach and TJ Holmes have no plans to cut on their relationship just yet. As to GMA3, what you need to know, co-hosts remain off the air pending an internal investigation. Regarding their rumored relationship, a source close to the situation shed light on where they stand, telling E! News they are still very much together. So who's this source? You always see this in these, what some people might consider tabloid type commentary, E! News, Sun, Inquirer, or whomever, Daily Mail. You're entitled to your interpretation and perception of these agents. Who is the source that gave this information? Just saying. The update on the relationship status follows a December 12th memo obtained by E! Central staffers from ABC News President Kim Godwin. I understand that the continuing coverage can be distracting from the incredibly important work our team does here, Godwin wrote in the note, adding that the network plans to have a rotation of anchors at GMA3 for the time being. She added, "It's my hope that we will continue to focus our energy on what we do best, and I want all of you to know how immensely proud I am of your hard work and professionalism." Robach and Holmes have not appeared on the Good Morning America spinoff since December 5th. ABC News reporters Gio Benitez, Stephanie Ramos, and DeMarco Morgan are among those who have temporarily stepped in amid their absence. Speculation of the journalist behind-the-scenes romance was first surfaced after several photos of the pair looking cozy in upstate New York were published by the Daily Mail on November 30th, shortly after Robach and Holmes, who are married to Andrew Shue and Mary Lee Phoebe, respectively, deactivated their Instagram accounts. And in this article by E! You will see a picture of the two hugging one another at looks like a marathon race. Though they have yet to directly speak about the news, they have made subtle hints about it. For instance, on the December 3rd episode of GMA3, before they were pulled off the air, Holmes joked it had been a great week, to which Robach responded, "Speak for yourself." Okay. Know what that's supposed to mean. See, that's the thing about trying to interpret. Usually when you say speak for yourself, that usually means the person is in opposition of it being a good week. So how did you read something into that commentary? Because if somebody says, "Oh, I had a great time," and then somebody quips back, "Speak for yourself," that's usually a hint that it wasn't that great. So what are the odds these two are out and about doing whatever they were doing upstate New York, and someone takes a photograph of these two together? Now, did they want to be photographed? Let's go there. Because we know people are always walking around somewhere with a camera. This is how we see all these great photographs of people in restaurants and going in and out of businesses and going in and out of the airport, because the paparazzi just hangs out at all these places, and some are swanky, so they can get a glimpse of somebody famous, well-known, or controversial, let's say. So what is the status of the relationship? How long has it been going on? You heard here in this audio that I played that Robin Roberts knew of the relationship and asked them years ago if something was going on. They denied it. Who was the source of that information? And is that the truth that Robin Roberts asked these two of their relationship? What did she see, if this is true, allegedly, that led her to think something was going on between the two? Now, naturally, two people working at an anchor desk, they'd have to show some overt flirting for people to start saying, I think he likes her. I think she likes him. Chatting it up in doorways and hallways, going into people's offices, dressing rooms often, that could start talk. Eating lunch together in a business setting often. So let's ask that question. Were they overtly flirting with each other on camera and behind the scenes at the network? And who would be the first to come forward to say, yeah, I noticed that? Well, imagine they probably wouldn't have a job if they decided to come forward. Maybe get a couple of pennies from one of these tabloid papers or regular newspapers, get a little money, but will it be worth it in the end to tell the world, yeah, I was watching them flirt all the time coming to work? So for the record, how long has this relationship been going on between Miss Amy and TJ? When did it start? Will it last? What are their plans? She's divorcing. He's separated. So one would want to know if these two are trying to be together. And they had to have known that eventually when you start flirting with someone, then you start calling, chatting, texting, meeting, dining, it leads to other things such as sexual. So we're going to assume these two have possibly crossed the line with one another intimately, allegedly. So have they? You're entitled to your interpretation. But you hear they're suspended pending an internal investigation. And naturally, this woman who's in charge was basically making commentary that they don't want people walking around this network in the hallways laughing and chucking it up, gossiping at the water cooler, because this is what happens when people get wind of gossip. So were people gossiping at the job? I'm curious. Hello Magazine has brief commentary pertaining to these two. And it also has that same picture of them where they're hugging at an NYC half race. Amy Robach, hold on one second. Amy Robach and TJ Holmes put the dramas of the last 2 weeks behind them when they stepped out in New York for the first time together since the news of their relationship was revealed. In photos published by the Daily Mail, the GMA co-stars walked arm in arm as they wrapped up against the code of the city. Very interesting. Both smiling, making their way to the Capitol Grill to grab lunch while they didn't pack on the PDA inside. They looked relaxed and carefree as they enjoyed their meal. Amy and TJ sat at the bar and both had a glass of wine with their lunch. Afterwards, they strolled back to TJ's apartment and Amy made her date laugh as she chatted away with him. Boy, this sounds so cheesy. This is what happens when people follow you around. One second. Since those photos have been released, the two have been removed from GMA3 after the affair became public. This article doesn't want to upload. Very interesting information. So they've been seen publicly since all this mess came out. So I'm wondering are they going to stay together? And how do their spouses feel? Because when I got this news the other day, I didn't open it. I wasn't even paying attention because of all the other content I cover. I kind of miss other things that are going on. I thought to myself, well, if they want to date each other, fine. So long as it's not fawning in public and on the TV screen. But then I read further that they are currently married. So I said, well, then that would be a problem. So I'll ask the general public, how do you all feel about these two being married to other participants, having an affair, knowing that possibly somebody would find out, because eventually you're going to meet the person out somewhere in secrecy or open, however you want to describe it, and now they've been removed. So I wonder if they cared, or was it just what they call love? How did it start? A mild joke, a mild comment, a little bit of flattery, compliment to the other one. Did it happen when they started working together as co-anchors? Because I don't watch the show enough to know when they work together and not together. So people will ask those questions. When did it start? Naturally, they were both married at the time when it started. What's going to be bad is if it's been going on for years, for 3 years or more or however, because that means you all were married and were slumbering about with one another. And I do believe he has a child, a girl child. I saw a picture of him and a daughter. I don't know how many children he has. This would have to be hard on your children, especially when children are of age where they can read and write and hear, watch TV, social media. I do not know if she has children, but nonetheless, this is bad business. So she's finalizing a divorce. He's separated. So one would assume that possibly these two are making plans to be together. I wonder if they are making plans. Amy and TJ, one second. Try to get this information uploaded. I'm having the hardest time. Getting this information to stay put. This is by Us Magazine. For some reason, just don't want to stay on. Amy and TJ will remain off the air until ABC completes an internal review of the relationship, the insider says, noting the network is looking into when it started, how it started, did it take place at work, and if it was distracting to the staff, quote unquote. The reporters are both married to other people and had yet to give relationship updates at the time the pictures surfaced. Interesting. Why are they going to do that? And even if they said, no, we contacted each other off the clock, it's still a matter of your interpretation of what you saw between the two while they were at work. So as I said earlier, who's going to say, yeah, I saw these two fawning over one another? And God forbid they would publicly speak, they would probably jeopardize losing their job. Once again, both are married, have not given an update pertaining to their relationship at the time the pictures surfaced. The investigation is trying to find out what staff saw before it was exposed to the media, the source tells us. Some of the Good Morning America staff did see their PDA behavior outside of work, the insider reveals, noting the twosome were spotted leaving the station together, getting into a car together, going to dinner together, hearing plans for a weekend getaway, and even kissing in a car. Wow, that's deep. Robach is 49, Holmes 45. One second. This article, for some reason, just does not want to stay put. One second. Thank you all so much for following the content. For some reason, these articles, they do not like to stay put. So here's somebody saying they saw them together getting in and out of cars, and this is some interesting information. Kissing in a car. So he's 49, she's 45, made headlines November 30th after the Daily Mail published pictures of them looking cozy, holding hands outside the studio. So that lets you know that they didn't mind being seen. Because common sense, if you're showing affection outside of a public building, then that means you're wanting it to be found out. I'll just say that. The University of Georgia alum who married Andrew Shue 2010 is yet to comment on the photos or the state of her marriage. Robach shares daughters Ava and Annalise with her first husband, so she does have 2 children, Tim McIntosh, and is stepmother to Shue's sons Nate, Aiden, and Wyatt, whom he co-parents with ex-wife Jennifer Haganey. So now we're talking about a lot of kids. Very interesting. The Melrose Place alum, mom, giving us all the 411 on these people. One second. They know they had stepchildren involved as well. Wow, this is interesting. Robach shares daughters Ava and Elise with her first husband, Tim McIntosh, stepmother to Shue's sons Nate, Aiden, Wyatt, whom he co-parents with his ex-wife Jennifer Haganey. She's a Melrose Place alum, 55, has wiped Robach from his social media profiles amid the scandal. Isn't that interesting? Everybody's blocking everybody on IG. Interesting. The former CNN correspondent for his part has also stayed tight-lipped about his relationship status with wife, Marilee Phoebe, whom he wed in 2010. Holmes shares daughter Sabine, 9, with Phoebe, 44, and son Jaden and daughter Brianna with his first wife, Amy Ferguson. So he has several children, few children. One daughter with the current wife, a 9-year-old, and then a daughter and son with his first wife. So he has 3 children. One day after news of their alleged filing broke, Robach and Holmes, fling, sorry about that. When their fling became noticeable to the public, Robach and Holmes returned to their GMA3 hosting duties. Who's looking forward to the weekend? The Arkansas native quit, which led Robach to raise her hand. The twosome, however, were pulled on December 5th from their positions as co-anchors. Us confirmed at the time that Holmes and Robach would be absent from the broadcast for the foreseeable future as the network launched an internal investigation to the nature of their relationship. 2 weeks later, the journalists were spotted getting cozy once again while out in New York City, according to photos published on December 15th. Watch the exclusive video above. This said commentary, Us Magazine, if you want to get more information pertaining to this. Sorry about the delay. Social media is getting the articles off of there, not the best content. What is so crazy is that it's public. And if I'm to believe the allegation made by this party in this commentary, which naturally they don't give their name, if a person says they saw them holding hands outside of the ABC building, that to me shows that they both are complicit in letting people know that they were together, although they are still married. No matter the circumstances of their marriages, you're still legally married. And who's to say when one filed for paperwork from the other? So I don't know if she filed from her husband first, he filed from her. Did she tell him she was having an affair? Did he find out? Go through her belongings, her things, her phone, computer, what? Did they send each other messages, text messages, love notes? What about Mr. Holmes? Did he tell his wife that he was having an affair, or did she find out or had a suspicion her husband was dallying with someone else? So you don't know, because naturally people aren't going to tell that. Somebody close to one of these entities would have to bring the 411, then ruin any type of relationship once they open their mouth. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to want some payment, because that's just the way the world is. People want to get paid now to talk. They don't want to just give the tea up for nothing. So what's going to become of these two? Will ABC forfeit their contracts. They go to another news network, as you see Mr. Cuomo with all his sexual allegations against him. He's now on News Nation. So people do go on to other networks and other entities from trauma, backlash, accusations, guilt, admitted. They go on to bigger and better things, or let's just say new endeavors. What will happen with these two? Well, we'll each decide it's not even worth trying to salvage the job there. They'll just go on somewhere else. He'll go to another network. She'll go to another network. How will that work out? I think what's interesting is that these people have children. And if you have children under the age of 18, this can be very bad business when it's time to pick up kids. Kids are coming over for the weekend. How is that going to work? Because that's the one thing people don't realize when they're cheating and having affairs. Is that it's exciting at that time because of the intense, magnetic force that's brought you two together, whatever it may be. The sneaking around, as I said, it's exciting. Can't wait to see the person. Can't wait to talk to the person. Can't wait to touch the person. But when everything hits the fan, it can cause a problem. Because now you're talking about the image. Your image is being put on Front Street. You're being judged. And then you work for a national syndicate. That's a problem. We're not talking about two people working at 7-Eleven cheating on each other, cheating on their spouses. One's leaving the other one, however it goes. You work for a national syndication where you are sitting in the public. So you have to watch everything that you do when you know that you're on a TV show or you are a broadcaster, newscaster. That's just common sense. You can't be hooping it up, falling down drunk in public, running around doing nefarious things, sleeping around with different people and or on your spouse. That's just common sense. But these two chose that route. It's neither here nor there. Now they've done it. But what will be the fallout? See, because there are always ramifications. Whether ABC keeps these two or not, you still have to stand a tone as being a public figure and also a human being with your friends, family, children, so on and so forth. So how do they feel now? Do they have any regret that it's out? But as I said, once you decided to hold hands in front of the ABC building, you didn't care about being seen. You wanted people to see you. There's no way you could say, I didn't want this out. Because either one of you could have walked in opposite directions and kept this affair on the down low until each person respectively was out of the relationship with their spouse. So maybe they could not wait. They did not want to wait. They wanted to show the world they are together. But then that means you could not have been thinking about your job. So let's go there. I want the world to know we're together, we're in love. I'll worry about the job later. That has to be the sentiment. How could I think not? You couldn't have thought that this would be okay with the president of the company because, as I said, you're sitting in front of a TV screen and image is everything. And then this is a Disney company. You know, this is a hierarchy. They want clean, fresh flesh to represent their name. So that's even more of a problem. Disney's name is behind this network. So not a good look. And although they're not selling children programs, but you get my drift. Image is everything. And people sometimes just say the hell with it. And that's their prerogative. So indeed, if these two willingly were out in public, knowing that they are married, knowing that possibly they've severed their relationships with those people, but not fully on paper, they said they didn't care. And I could just assume they don't care. She's filing for divorce. Do not know when she decided to file or the husband filed, but it said it's in final stages. So maybe she filed. I don't know. I don't know if we even will ever find out unless the husband decides to talk. And for her sake, she better hope he doesn't talk, because imagine the things that he would tell. Allegedly. We stopped talking. We stopped touching. There was no sex. There was no communication. There was no spending time together. I saw notes and letters, texts, messages, blah, 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 blah. Not coming home at a decent hour. So you know these two had to meet up at some point. Stay woke. So when did they meet up? Afternoon, evening, late in the night? Was somebody not coming home? Was somebody in another room whispering in the phone, talking? Up late night texting? These are the things that people do when they are in relationships with people, whether they are married or not, dating someone else or not. They communicate. So how did the two communicate when they weren't together? Naturally, by phone, text, computer. Did they get caught texting, messaging? Ever get caught out in public? Somebody else went back, saw them together somewhere. Even if you check into a hotel room, assuming the other person would check in, possibly a separate room, or they'll just go up and meet you in the room that you checked out. People talk, people recognize you. And I think sometimes when people are famous, they really don't think that people are going to recognize them, but many people do still watch television and morning news. So if these two ever went somewhere, let's just say hotel, motel, somebody would have noticed them. Because as I just said, somebody always notices something. There's always somebody lurking. And the fact that they work for a news syndicate in a major city, New York is not that small. Not that big, to where you can't be seen standing in front of a major building and holding hands with somebody or walking in the same direction often. Somebody noticed, and I won't doubt that somebody probably followed them on the suspicion that they were having an affair, because you do have nosy Parkers that are like that. Hey, I think something's going on between Amy and TJ. Girl, we'll follow when they get out, when they walk out the building, see where they go. It's no telling. I'm serious. I won't doubt they were probably followed out of that building deliberately to see where they went. If they went to the same place, got in the same car, same cab, and the rest was history. And then somebody went back and repeated to Pookie, Ray Ray, Bubba. Now everybody's whispering about it in the building. They possibly don't know they've been seen getting in the same car, cab. And then somebody eventually called them into the office and said, we need to have a little chit chat with you. We've heard the news. We've seen the pictures. And that's a crazy way to be outed. Public pictures or public phone records, text messages, voicemails. But it happens all the time because we do have some dirty buggers who don't mind putting your business out on Front Street for self-gain, for payment. It's the kind of world we live in. That's why you have to think before you do things. And you have to ask yourself, honestly, is this worth it? What I'm about to do with this other human being, or any other type of actions that may be deemed unethical, immoral. What's going to happen when I do this? What's going to happen when I say this? Do I care about the ramifications? Now, will these two be remorseful? Are they remorseful rather? I don't know. Have remorse down the road? I don't know. But the children will suffer. The network will pick up and keep it moving because they're a business. And I don't see these two coming back to ABC working at the same desk because as this guy said, well, maybe a week or two. Well, it's 2 weeks and they're not back. And I think that will cause a problem if they come back because they're married. And that's sending a message that ABC is condoning, and Disney, married people slumbering with each other and sitting up cackling on the news together. Come on, you guys. You know they can't put them back at that desk together. Whether it happened off campus or not. It's principle. They work for a company. They're in the viewing eye of the public, of the nation, and abroad. And they are currently married to other people. So it won't matter when it started, how it started, who's divorcing whom. They are legally married to other people. And people talk, and they will continue to talk until they jump on the next story. And this is also competition. ABC's in competition with other news agents. How does that look? Their own news broadcasters are slumming around with each other, giving other news networks something to talk about for their broadcasts. Stay woke. This is a business. So they didn't think this thoroughly. They may have been tired of sneaking around, but they didn't think of the ramifications of the he said and the she said and being able to keep a job. These people make lucrative money, because I used to stay up late in the morning, still do, but when I would watch the ABC News late, I would watch him and this other young lady, and he made his way from that wee hour morning news to the main line desk. So he came up in the past couple of years, Mr. TJ. But look at the price now. Being on the air at 2, 3, 4 in the morning to a morning anchor desk to now being out and having an affair with your co-anchor. Was it worth it? Was it worth it, Miss Robach and Mr. Holmes? Because you all have children. And your children are young, and they have to also live with the ramifications that their parents were having affairs with their co-anchor. So this is what I'm saying. You all are not regular people. You may feel like regular people some days, but right now you're not. You're in the public eye, and you didn't think this out thoroughly. But this happens all the time, whether it's a politician, it's a mayor, a senator, a president of a country, news anchor desk, actor, sports figure, it's all the same. There just comes a point when the lust is more important, or the feelings are more important than the actual ramifications. And then, God forbid, nasty gossip ensues. A spouse decides he or she wants to talk about how they were treated behind closed doors, publicly treated. Somebody starts telling somebody's secrets of the meetups, the hookups, what they found as evidence. It can get real nasty. And you should also know that attorneys will be involved when people decide to go ahead and sign papers to dissolve the marriage. It can go on for months, years, until properties are divided and monies are divided. And this is when somebody decides they want to start talking and start telling the business. And then friend of a friend, and somebody else wants to start talking. Then before you know it, you've got a banjo full of heathens screaming and hollering about he said, she said, and who did what, and who shot JR. And all this is going to play out in the public. It's not good. So praying that this situation won't exacerbate with people coming forward to start telling things. Because you can't shut a story down if people keep chattering. And you know, many people have been in this position. Tiger Woods, as I said, politicians, government officials, entertainers, sport athletes, they've all been in these shoes where their business got out on Front Street. And eventually, yes, the hype dies down and the news is on to a news story. The internet's on to a news story. But nonetheless, children are involved and somebody didn't think about their kids. And people don't think about their kids when they're, as I said, lusting after somebody. And a lot of times these relationships don't pan out. So that's something else to consider and something they may want to consider. How are you going to actually make it work? Everybody's got kids. Financial situation. As I said, dividing up estate, monies, accounts. It can become very stressful. Then the scrutiny of it all playing out on TV, internet. You will probably start to lose focus on that person that you were so entangled with. And then you might have regrets. They might actually want to remain in a relationship with your spouse. But then maybe they'll say, to hell with it. You didn't care about me. I don't want you. I don't need you because you now have publicly embarrassed me. And I'm not going to stand for that. When I get more information pertaining to this debacle at ABC, the decision that they will make about the two, Miss Amy Robach and Mr. TJ Holmes, I will bring you the said commentary. I want to thank you for listening in on this cold Wednesday. If you'd like to donate to the great network, $ Beganji 129 Cash App. All stickers and chats are welcome during the stream. Yes, you have now been introduced to the vault. Happy hump day. Happy holidays. Thank you for your time. I'll see you next time.